Welcome to Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Mare, and we're breaking down the world of pro wrestling.
From the eyes of a smart fan.
And a casual fan, and everyone in between.
Whether you're a lifelong fan
or just getting into it,
you've got a ringside seat with us.
All right, guys, before we jump back into the show, I got to tell you about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's looking like $1 million without spending $1 million.
If you're listening to the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast, you're already a top-tier wrestling fan. You care about the history, you care about the storytelling, you care about who really won that promo battle.
So why not dress like it?
Over at Pro Wrestling Tees, you can grab the official Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling merch. And buddy, this isn't some fly-by-night cheap print situation.
We're talking soft, comfortable tees.
Clean, bold designs.
The kind of shirt that works at a live show, a meetup, or your weekly pay-per-view watch party.
And here's the thing. When you rock the logo, you're not just wearing a shirt, you're repping the show. You're part of the conversation, and you're part of the community.
So do me a favor.
Right now, open up that browser.
Search Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling on Pro Wrestling Tees.
Grab the shirt. Maybe grab two. One for you, one for the tag partner in your life.
Support the podcast, support the brand.
And look like you belong in the front row while you're doing it.
All right, let's get back to the show.
All right, welcome back. This is part 2 of the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast. And now we go from the chaos to the spectacle.
Because everything we talked about in part 1, that was just the appetizer. Now we're in Las Vegas, bright lights, big stage, and all the pressure in the world, WrestleMania 42.
And look, this is where legacies get made or completely flipped on their head.
We're talking title changes, moments that had you jumping off the couch, others that had you staring at the screen like, wait, that's the call? And yeah, we're absolutely getting into those commercials because somehow they became a part of the show.
So whether you loved it, hated it, or you're still trying to process what you just watched, let's break it all down.
This is WrestleMania 42. All right, we're going to open it up with a 6-man tag team match. LA Knight and the Usos pick up the win against ISHO, Speed and the Vision in 7 minutes and 8 seconds. So their entrances and commercials took longer than their match.
Yeah, that was the theme for Saturday.
I thought we were going to skip Saturday, but we have to talk about it, I guess, because we're a podcast about wrestling. And they did some of that night.
Yeah. The after match was more memorable than the match itself. You know, the Vision turning on Speed and Speed putting Logan Paul through the table, doing his best Dorada impersonation, standing on the post and doing the big splash through the announce table. I mean, it was good for what it was. It'll be interesting if we see a Speed and Logan Paul feud down the line, but being on ESPN2, this is what they wanted. And, you know, I'm sure it did big numbers, but, you know, the theme for the night was little ring time, more commercials, and, you know, nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, all the guys worked hard. I mean, it wasn't a dud of a match by any means, but, you know, it was just kind of there. And like you guys said, you know, the entrances took and commercials took longer than the match, so it was kind of hard to really invest in any of it. So
Yeah. ISHO Speed has really great facial expressions, so I think if they are going to keep him around, it's probably just for his face, because I don't think he was fantastic at wrestling, but I also don't think that he needed to be, and it's really just about the way he sells is, I think, incredible. He has a great face for that stuff. Then we had the unsanctioned match. Jacob Fatu defeats Drew McIntyre in 14 minutes and 9 seconds. Steve, tell me.
Yeah, this was an okay match. I expected a lot more from this match, and you know, it felt like at times they were going to cross that threshold, but just never got there. Huge win for Jacob, and you know, Drew's always entertaining. He's always great, and you know, I'm a big Jacob Fatu fan, and it just continues that upward trajectory for him. And you know, second longest match of the night, which is saying something for sure, because we get like 2 of these match lengths on AEW Dynamite, and you know, here we are, second longest match of the night here on the biggest show.
yeah, it was kind of your typical standard, you know, paint by numbers, you know, unsanctioned, whatever you want to call it, you know, street fight, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think I think they're definitely setting up here for Jacob and Roman, so he had to get the win, so I think that's kinda where they're hinting at anyway.
I'm not a Jacob Fatu fan, but it's okay. Now that he's talking more, I'm like, ugh, stop. Just be intimidating. You don't have to talk. That's just me, though. Then we had everyone's favorite match, the women's tag team title fatal four-way match. The big surprise was Paige because Nikki Bella is injured, so Brie Bella and Paige are the new champs. They defeated Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, who did have great gear. Bailey and Lyra, and the immovable objects. This match was only 8 minutes and 33 seconds. Anybody have anything they would like to say about this match?
Yeah, I mean, it was a match. I like
Yes.
Bailey's facial expressions more than anything because she didn't look too happy and, she didn't look pleased after the match because she just no sold everything and just walked up that ramp. So, not sure what was going on there, but hopefully she's seeing the writing on the wall and goes to join her best friend and gets that one final run that she deserves. But we'll see. I don't see Brie Bella and Paige being long term champs here because, Nikki's going to be back sooner rather than later. But we'll see what Paige, what she does. I mean, she had a nice little run in AEW, but, I think the nostalgia wears off pretty quick with her and it turns into similar to how AJ Lee is. She's remembered as like this pioneer and like this great women's wrestler, and that was the case 10 years ago. But now, women have, long surpassed what they considered a great match. And, that bar is so much higher nowadays. And especially some of the talent that, every company has in the women's division.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's kinda crazy. Paige, she's been around for, like, 15 years. She's only 33 years old. So, I mean, if she's healthy enough, if she can kinda get back to where she was, I think she could have a little bit of a run here. I think you the match wasn't great, no, but huge pop for her return for those fans. You had to put the belts on them, made no sense not to. But it's also, you got another baby face. You could have the Bellas turn heel on her, so there's definitely ways they can or things they can do with her, over the next couple months, building into SummerSlam. So, is she gonna be a top person? I don't know. I don't know how physically well she's doing. Can she be the old Paige? Maybe. I don't know, but I mean, for what it was there for, it was fine. It wasn't my favorite either, but it accomplished what it needed to, and the fans were happy to see her, so good for it worked out.
So in the after show, whenever they had the little round table with the guys, Corey Graves and Biggie and the other guys, Paige was like, I'm a WWE girl through and through. I love it so much. I'm lifelong WWE, like completely like, I mean, she can't be like, oh, but I also like AEW. Of course, she can't say that, but I just thought it was odd to be so like, to make such a big declaration after she was just in the other, big company. And Brie Bella's like, I wanted to do this with Paige forever. We've deserved it was just such a weird after performance. And also I feel like Paige has been touched by an angel. We all know, we can all tell. And she's very beautiful, but I think that all of the work that she's had done for me distracted from what could have been her athleticism when I was like trying to figure out like what is that a BBL? Like why does she have these little skinny chicken legs in this, like weird outfit? I mean, I'm sure none of this ever occurred to you guys, but I mean, it occurred to me to, sit there and figure out what looked weird on her, but she did look good and she is beautiful and, whether you're touched by an angel or not, as RuPaul puts it, I think, yeah, it was interesting. Not my favorite match, but it was fine. It was fine, to use a Joe word. It was fine.
It was fine.
It's fine. I didn't hate it.
Exactly.
Then we had the WWE Women's Intercontinental Title match. Becky Lynch, of course, wins versus AJ Lee in 8 minutes and 15 seconds. And apparently, some of those little girls were AJ Lee's nieces that came out on the stage with her. And they really hit hard the role model thing, where Becky Lynch's like daughter's favorite wrestler is AJ Lee, and So they really like drove that home in this match. But Joe, do you have any thoughts?
I kind of what we thought, AJ's excuse me, not going to be, a permanent character, going forward, which is probably honestly for the best. I mean, like Steve touched on, and we touched on it last week too. She's, the girls now have passed her in terms of in-ring skill, and not everybody can take off, for years and years and years and come back and be Shawn Michaels like we talked about before, so, I think if they use her in certain spots, it's better overall for everybody because she can still get that big reaction. People will be happy to see her, but you're not exposing her every week, to try to have these matches that she probably physically can't have anymore, I think, and we talked about this too before, like Becky wants to be a heel so bad, she killed her own momentum, so you have that aspect of it too. So the match itself was okay, but like you just have these two girls in here that are like should be bigger stars and they're not for whatever reason. And part of it's because of one wants to be a heel and the other one just isn't at that level anymore. I think they made the right choice in obviously having Becky win, but where does Becky go from here? I mean, unless she's going to put some younger girl over, well, what are we doing here? You know?
Yeah, this match was a dud for me. The entrances were the best part. Having the Wonder Years there for Becky was cool. And, AJ's entrance was nice. It's going to tug at the heartstrings with the kids and the family, but that's where it peaked for me. And, this was an old school divas match to me, just like we thought it was gonna be. And, yeah, it's nice AJ came back, but, put her with Punk because I don't think she can go like she used to go. And I'm not sure that that type of rust is gonna come off because I don't think she can hang with these new women because she's not gonna put in the ring time to get to that level and really up her game. So, I mean, it is what it is. Becky's probably going to be wrapping it up this year. So, I could definitely see her dropping the Intercontinental title to someone like, Soul. That would make a lot of sense to get someone over like that. Hopefully we don't go back to Maxine,
Oh
but
God, I forgot about her.
yeah, we'll see what happens, but, yeah, this was a I could do without match for me.
I think that AJ, like, she does look good, and that she isn't going to have those same kind of matches that she used to have. Like we said, the legend of what she used to be is better than what she actually is now. But like, she is still very athletic, and I think she's just too in her head because every match we've seen of her, I mean, all three of them or however many, you can see her working through the choreography as they're doing it versus like feeling it out, and so I don't know if it is a thing of like she's just, going for that 15 more minutes of fame or if like she really truly wants to be there because then in her interview after the fact, she was all upset, and very like, I didn't get to say goodbye last time. I'm not going to say it now. Maybe it'll be like a see you soon, but it also sounded like she was kind of wrapping it up too. But I think, she could get better. I think she has the potential to because she does still have that athleticism, but it's just a matter of getting out of her own head almost, I feel like. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fan anyways, but
I think if they put her in a feud with someone like Chelsea who could make it entertaining and maybe bring some personality out of her,
yeah.
that could be interesting.
To me, I feel like this whole role, I mean, obviously the role model is the gimmick for somebody else, but this whole like I'm your daughter's favorite wrestler thing and having the kids come out didn't make sense to me. Mostly, not that you have to have kids, like it's a valid life choice to not, but like her and Punk don't have kids, they have dogs and that's awesome and that's so cool. And it feels like that is the life choice that they made. And so for her to incorporate kids so much into the match seemed odd to me. Because she isn't one of the superstars that has it, but I don't know. Like it
Well,
just didn't fit to me anyways.
well, think about it. What if our daughter said, "Man, so and so's mom is my favorite mom, not you."
I guess yeah, they're trying to get that angle. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would, that pisses Becky off because she hasn't been around and, here she is.
I'm gonna fight your Aunt Denise because Charlotte told me that she's her favorite mom. All right, moving on. We had a singles match. Gunther defeats Seth Rollins by referee's decision in 17 minutes and 52 seconds. Now, is that actual match time or does that time include entrances?
That's match time.
Wow, what a long match.
Yeah, I mean, it would classify as a
Normal
continental
match.
classic match, but yeah. I mean, this was the best match on Saturday, like we thought it would be. Gunther's amazing. Rollins has always been fantastic, and we got the huge return of Braun Breaker. We got to see him run 75 yards and do his spear. So just setting up that angle to pick back up. But yeah, this was very entertaining and keeps Gunther strong, puts him right back in the main event picture where he belongs, and Rollins has his feud for the next few months. So, we'll see where this goes. But yeah, Paul Heyman owes Gunther something big.
Yeah, I mean this was the right call here because you have that natural built-in story with Breaker coming back, so it made sense to put Gunther over. Like you said, you have that favor angle, so they got a lot of things that they can do good coming out of this match and these angles. So we'll see what they do here.
And Gunther can't lose if he's like retiring all these people. He can't lose. He has to remain undefeated almost. Otherwise, like, I don't know, doesn't mean
What
as much.
what's the point?
Yes. Then we had the WWE Women's World Title match. Liv Morgan defeats Stephanie Vacour in 6 minutes and 51 seconds. Man, her face. There was a lot of makeup, but you could still see that knob right on her head. And it was short. It was a short match.
Yeah,
But what'd you
this
think?
was a huge letdown for me. I had much higher expectations for this match. I thought this could be the show stealer for night one, and I don't know if it was because Liv was coming off of the giant hematoma, the black eyes, and everything else that was going on. Maybe that had to play in a role in it, but I don't think so because Monday night she had a much longer match. But yeah, just the lack of time for this, it feels like her entrance was longer than the match itself. And,
But they're
it's just
dancing.
yeah. I mean, I get the
Trouble,
entrance.
trouble.
Yeah. I mean, I love Liv Morgan, but this didn't do it for me. I mean, pretty much every women's match on this card for night one on Saturday was a huge letdown and not up to the standards that I definitely expected. But yeah, big win for Liv. We'll see where it goes from here. And the title's definitely better on her. I feel like Stephanie, since she came to WWE and NXT, just it hasn't clicked for me compared to what we were seeing when she was doing the Forbidden Door and having those matches with Mercedes. I feel like it's been a total letdown, almost similar to Blake Monroe. She had, this, upward trajectory that was looking great and then just kind of has been flat ever since coming to WWE.
Yeah, I mean, the right call putting the title on Liv for sure. This was more about the presentation than the match. They did her little Video Music Awards gig coming to the ring, and then they just had. And I think you're right, Steve. Part of it was probably they just wanted to be cautious with her coming off of that, you know, out of concussion protocol. So yeah, like I said, it was just kind of there, but that's the right call. Put the belt on Liv right now, and kind of maybe try to refresh Steph with some time away from the title picture, build her back up.
I feel like I've thoughts about Stephanie Vaquer, but that's okay. They're not valid. It's just character stuff. She's like watching paint dry, which is unfortunate because I'm sure she was great before. Then we had the undisputed WWE title match. Cody Rhodes picks up the win against Randy Orton in 22 minutes and 44 seconds. This match was great. I liked this match. I thought it was a very good match.
Yeah, it was a good match. It was solid. You could definitely tell Randy was hurting, not 100% coming into this match. The whole Pat McAfee thing was very interesting. It's being reported now that Pat McAfee's the one that like really pulled himself out of, WWE now. And it seems like he's done now and not even going to be commentating or anything. His time in wrestling seems to have wrapped up. You got the Jelly Roll interaction, but yeah, I mean, it was a good match for what it was. Definitely not the match of matches that, we had expectations for, though.
No, I mean, it was fine. The McAfee stuff aside, the
Sorry, I loved Pat McAfee.
the the right thing to do here would have been just have a babyface match. Let two guys just go out there and work, and then they did what they did, so they can't undo it now. So overall, though, I mean, the, this was just night one was just there. I mean, I couldn't imagine paying those prices and getting that show. I mean, that is just
That would have been heated.
mind-boggling. Oh, awful, awful. I mean, everybody worked hard, don't get me wrong, but the way they booked it, the way it was paced, like we talked about in the little opening about the commercials. What was it? 40, I think it was
An
45
hour.
minutes or an hour between the semi-main and the main. Like, granted, I watched most of it on tape or on the tape delay on the app after the fact, so I got to skip through all that. But it's just like,
It was brutal. It
yeah,
was
I believe it.
brutal.
To watch it
Because
live,
for
yeah.
ours, we didn't even get like the Hulk Hogan commercials or anything. It was just the default, we'll be back in a minute for like
Oh,
40 minutes. And it was just like, what is going on? Like, I had to go out and come back in a couple times because I was like, oh, did it freeze? And then it's like 40 minutes between. Like, I mean, this is why you have John Cena as a host. Fill that time. I wish, and I tweeted this during the show, like when they have those breaks, why not show like, hey, history of WrestleMania. Let's look back at, WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 17. Promote promote the WWE Vault. Show, a condensed version of a big match or something and be like, hey, see the full match on WWE Vault or on Netflix,
yeah,
do something, make it a spectacle. I mean, they had John Cena there and all he did was an introduction and the attendance for
yeah.
night one. And that's a waste, have him interact with some people. You have all those legends in town that weekend. Do something with them. Get them on, instead of having stupid commercials, while you got to change sets or pyro or whatever the hell it is you're doing for 40 minutes, have these legends interacting with people in the back, you,
Or
you,
bring your Hall of Famers out and do like a sit down interview at the panel or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
induct Sid Vicious then instead of just giving him a 5 minute, oh, hey, Sid Vicious, he's in the Hall of Fame. Great. Hey, congratulations.
How did how did he go into the legacy wing? It's not like he was like from the 50s and 60s. I mean, he headlined two WrestleManias, one against Hogan and one against Taker. The guy was around until, I mean, he did guest spots for, back in the day on Raws, like up until what, about 10 years ago ish. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't like he disappeared off the face of the earth. I mean, that was just strange why they didn't just do a full induction for him.
I mean, it's TKO. They don't care. They don't give a damn about the fans because the price of the event shows you. No, they're
Yeah.
not interested in that. They care about ad revenue, making Netflix happy, putting as many advertisements as they can on the ring and around the ring, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and blimps and stuff, they're not worried about the fans. And, that's great now. You're going to alienate people now, and all that's going to do is hurt you down the line because, it just feels like 1994 all over again, where you're going to lose your hardcore audience and they're going to flip that channel and you're going to, be behind the eight ball for a new generation that is not going to get to experience it because who the hell's paying all this money for, these shows?
Yeah. It's sad, but that's what they're doing.
All right, let's move on to night two, Sunday. So the big shocker of the night was the very first match, Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar. Of course, Oba picks up the win in 4 minutes and 46 seconds. And we're like talking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, so now, I mean, Brock's gonna wrestle Gunther, right? And then he's taking off his stuff and he leaves. So is this officially the end of Brock? Like, is this it? I mean, the boots were in the ring, the gloves. He was crying. What do you guys think?
I don't think this was planned. I think this was something probably him and Paul Heyman discussed because it sounds like after this happened, they were probably trying to talk him back into staying at least, to have one because I think the rumors were he was gonna retire this year at, like, SummerSlam.
'Cause it's in Minnesota.
Right, so I think they're gonna try to get him back, but if he doesn't if he figured that's it, then that's it, man. They're not gonna get him back, but I know they're trying everything they can to keep him, so we'll see. I mean, it was very cool to see because you could tell it was real.
Yeah.
You could tell he really struggled with that decision, but I think it was probably something him and Paul Heyman talked about. They I would assume they might have clued in Triple H maybe before the match because, production never took the cameras off of him. They may have had an idea, but yeah, it was something to see. I mean, I still think he's got a lot in the tank, but he doesn't need to do this anymore. He's filthy rich, and I think he's 48 years old now, and he's put his body through a lot the last 3 decades. So, if he wants to retire, let him retire. He doesn't need the money. So
Yeah, I think his kids are, about to enter, like, real competitive athletics. He's got 2 sons that are big into, like, national team hockey, and I think his daughter might be going for the Olympics in the
yeah,
shot put. So, I mean, I think he's gonna devote a lot of his time there. And, I started feeling like something was going to happen because I started seeing pictures of him and Sable around the weekend. And if she's around and being spotted, then something probably important's going to happen. That
yeah.
that was my inkling. But I could definitely see them getting him back for one more match. I mean, TKO, they can open that checkbook when they want to. And if you throw enough money at him, he'll jump for one more match.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we had the WWE Intercontinental Title six-pack ladder match. Penta defeats Dragon Lee, JD McDonough, Javon Evans, Rey Mysterio, and Rusev in 15 minutes and 8 seconds. There was a lot of good wrestling in this match. I liked this match. Joe, did you have any thoughts about it?
It was great. I mean, probably one of the better ladder matches they've had, on the WrestleMania shows. It was smart to put this on ESPN. You get some eyeballs on it. Same with the Brock match. You get some eyeballs on this thing, and you might entice some people to get the pay per view and everything. So no, I mean it was a fantastic match. I'm glad. I know we discussed it last week, but I think keeping the belt on Penta was probably the right call here. So, he's doing well right now.
Yeah, it was a fun match. Mary, you were the only one to guess this one right in our household. I thought Mysterio was going to come out. He looked great in this match.
Yeah, he did.
They had some awesome ladder spots. Really entertaining. And I wish they would have booked his brother into this, so we got Ray. I mean, so we got Penta and Phoenix in here. But maybe next time.
Yeah.
Then we had the WWE United States title match. Trick Williams with Little Yachty defeats Sami Zayn in 7 minutes and 7 seconds. We got that title change. Let's talk about the train on his coat, though, for a second. That was hilarious and over the top, and I loved it.
It's
Um,
still coming down to ringside.
it's leaving from Goldberg's house and it's making its way. But any thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I've really grown to love Trick Williams ever since he went to TNA and, got that experience being in the main event, having that mic time. I feel like he's improved tenfold and, he's really stepped it up and I think he's a major player for WWE going forward. And, it's going to elevate the US title and, he's super over. His entrance is awesome. His presence is great. They had him all over ESPN being a former NFL football player. And, he's exactly what new WWE is. And, he's going to be someone they feature. And it would not shock me if down the road, Oba and Trick are, you know, this generation's, Austin and Rock or, Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton. It's going to be the feud of feuds for the coming years.
Yeah, I'm glad they flipped the belt. I just wish they would have had a little more time. That was kind of the theme for this entire, show, nights 1 and 2. But yeah, the sky's the limit for Trick. This could be the beginning of the slow build to WrestleMania next year for Sammy, possibly. They won't start. I guess I should rephrase that. They won't probably start it right now, but I mean, I think get him some wins going forward. He needs to be on the pay-per-views. You can't just decide, hey, in January we're just going to strap the rocket to this guy. So if they really want to, get him going for Mania next year, I think now is when you start to build him up, and then come the fall winter is when you really get him going. So, but no, I think I'm a Steve. I think Trick and Oba are two of their bigger younger guys now. So you got to start building around them.
Yeah, and you're gonna get that Trick and Carmelo match at some point.
Definitely, yeah.
Then we had a street fight. Finn Balor defeats Dominic Mysterio in 10 minutes and 27 seconds. We got to see the Demon, and I wasn't a fan of the Demon before when he used to do it, but it's been so long. I like it now. And this is probably like one of my favorite designs they ever did on Finn Balor. He looked awesome. It was colorful and dark. I loved the fanfare with like the, traditional Japanese wrestling. Normally at the end of the match they throw the streamers, but they did it at the beginning and I just thought it was awesome. I don't know if they meant it to be like a tribute to his New Japan days, but I thought it was a nice touch and it was a good match. Thoughts about this match?
It was
Yeah,
good. Go ahead,
it
Steve.
was it was solid. I wish it would have been for the Mega Championship. I wish they would have added a little more to that. But solid match, and Finn Balor's great. Dom's great. What else can you say?
Yeah, no arguments there. I wish it would have been for the mega title as well. Finn needed to win here. And they can continue this feud. With Judgment Day. So I think it's everything lines up, and they'll continue with story after this.
I think it's good to see Finn wrestling because he's such an incredible talent, and I don't know, I feel like we haven't gotten enough of him in recent years, so it was good to see him in a match. Then we had the WWE Women's Title match, and I was surprised. Jade Cargill had a good match. I thought this was a great match. I mean, Rhea always looks incredible, but it had that suspense, of like the 1, 2, 3 counts left and right and still not winning. And is this the best singles match that Jade has ever had?
Thought
Probably.
so. This is probably the best Jade match since her debut match in that tag match with Shaq and Cody. This was the best she looked. Rhea looked great. I really liked the ending sequence where, first she did a one-winged angel, which was like, oof, look at that.
Awesome.
She really pulled that out. So good for her to pull that off. And when she was going for her finisher to have that nice smooth transition to Rhea, falling under her legs and then, you know, hitting her finisher. It was a nice ending sequence and, what was definitely the best women's match of both nights for sure.
Absolutely. Kenny Omega addressed the One Wing Angel on Twitter, and his perspective was so cool. He's like, "How do I feel about it? I think it's great seeing my moves on the WWE stage." Like he thought it was so awesome, and he was happy, to share it. And Jade Cargill tweeted back a goat emoji because he's the greatest of all time, of course. But it was a good match, and I'm glad that she's not the champ anymore. And maybe she'll go on to have good matches now, but I mean, I think because it was WrestleMania, she really pulled it all out. And Rhea Ripley, I mean, she's fantastic and she looked incredible. I loved seeing her in the all white gear. I thought it made her look like a vampire because they did the bright red makeup around her face, and I just thought she looked awesome. It was a great match. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, you guys hit the key points. I'll just add that I think it was very telling that, as we discussed it on past episodes, that Liv and Rhea are their two top females right now, and they put both belts on them. So I think that was the right call there for the company.
Yeah. All right. Then we had the main event. Roman Reigns, wins against CM Punk in 33 minutes and 56 seconds. I always go first because I announced the match, so I get to. But, Roman, I loved his entrance. I guess they had done it before. Babe, you had mentioned I was saying how I liked that they did the homage to like his family and stuff, but apparently they've done that. It was a good entrance. And then CM Punk's entrance, I was like, God, this is lame. And it turns out it was a nod to his indie days, and I was like, wow, that was boring.
Yeah,
But
that entrance was for like people like me and Joe.
exactly. I was like, what is this? I don't like this. And then he's like, it's slobbering time. And then it hit to his cult of personality, but I was like, this is boring. And then Steve didn't even correct me in the moment. He just let me sit there with my foot in my mouth until I had to learn it from somebody else.
Well, he was probably taking it all in and enjoying the nostalgia like I was.
Well, I'm just popping off and I don't know anything about his indie career. I'm like, this is stupid.
All you got to do is come upstairs and you can rewatch it all.
Listen, you've shown me matches. I've seen a lot of his matches. I saw, didn't he fight Seth Rollins when he was Tyler Black? I think you showed me one of those matches.
Everybody, his trilogy with Samoa Joe is some of the best North American wrestling ever.
I know I've seen it, but I mean, it's been
Yeah.
so long. It would probably be like the first time again because
His 90-minute match in IWA with Chris Hero.
you showed me that one.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this match. I didn't like the ending where, Punk's collapsing and everything, trying to be, Shawn Michaels after getting an enziguri. But, it was a great match. I thought it was the match of the weekend, the best match on the WrestleMania card.
Hmm.
Roman really brought it. Punk looked great. Punk did the worst Superman punch I've ever seen, but I think his vertical was like 2 inches. So, but it was awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great match. I think people I've seen some reviews and read some reviews, and a lot of it's because it's the current, it's the now. Reflecting on it, almost a week later, some people were calling it one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. I don't know about that. I mean, I think you could maybe put it in a top 20. Is it one of the better WrestleMania main events of all time? Sure. You could argue that for sure. I think there's a lot of matches over the 40 plus years, and now we have 2 nights, for the last 3 years. So, you got a lot of shows, a lot of matches, the guys. I'm not taking anything away from either one of them because it was, like I said, a great match. I just think a lot of people they think of the right now and it's fresh in their head, and when you start to look back at previous matches and kind of thinking, okay, you could put it in maybe a top 15 or 20. I don't think it's a top 5 main event wise. You could probably put it in a top 10 for main event, but overall, you don't think, Steve? But
No
overall, I
way.
mean, I think it was a great match though. Like Steve said, best match of the weekend, entertaining as hell. They told the story they wanted to. I mean, the story was basically, Phil's old now. He threw everything but the kitchen sink at Roman, and
Yeah.
he couldn't get the job done. So the younger guy won. Not my favorite either. I don't really want to see Roman with the belt again, but that's the story they went with.
Yeah, I could easily think of 10 WrestleMania matches above that, like, and not even struggle. I mean, you got
Main event though, like main event matches. That's what I was getting at, like main events.
well, yeah, you could. I mean, I'll take the 2 Austin Rocks. I'll take Lesnar Angle. I'll take the 60-minute Iron Man over it. I'll take HBK Austin over it. I'll take the first Cena Rock over this. I'll take, of course, I'll take WrestleMania 30 over it without hesitation.
Yeah, yeah, Brian. Yeah.
I'll take WrestleMania 3 over it. I'll take WrestleMania 1 over it.
I mean, I think I'm thinking of more of like a wrestling match as opposed to like storyline because Andre and Hulk, honestly, was a good match.
I mean, I loved it. I mean, I absolutely. I mean, if we're talking nostalgia, I mean, I
Oh
think
yeah, if
you
you're
know,
going, yeah, I get that. I just meant in terms of like the in ring. I think theirs was kind of story heavy too, to a point. Playing into the story going in. But I mean, I'm not dogging it at all. I think it was a great
yeah,
match. I think people just love it. They loved it so much because it's fresh in their head. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because you got to take into account, like you just rattled off a bunch of matches. You got to take into account all that. So but I think historically, I say it's going to go down as one of the better main events that they've had. Especially,
yeah,
I would say if you cut off at like WrestleMania, we'll say WrestleMania 14 being the first generation of WrestleMania, and then you get into 15 and on, probably it's definitely up there. Going into the modern era.
Quickly, where does WrestleMania 42 rank in the hierarchy of WrestleManias? It's one of the
Which
worst
which
of all
night?
times.
Which nightmare?
Fine,
Set it up.
it's one show. It's all one. It's
I
WrestleMania
mean,
42, not 42.5 and 42.
I mean, I'd put it around WrestleMania 11.
The
yeah,
one
that's
where
fair.
Shawn Michaels zip lines in?
No, that was 12.
That was
That's
12.
close.
11 was Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor.
The refrigerator?
No.
I don't know anything. Moving on.
I think night one was
Awful.
there. Yeah, it was there, and night two was. I thought night two was very entertaining and enjoyable.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was literally the tale of two shows.
Night one was like a Monday Night Raw.
No,
It's
Yeah.
not
all the
even.
commercials,
True,
short
yeah, that is
matches
true.
and tons of commercials and no promos. I mean, thankfully no promos because they're boring on WWE. But
True.
all right, let's catch up with the Raw after WrestleMania. So the first match was Rio, so Io Sky and Rhea Ripley picking up the win against the Kabuki Warriors in 11 minutes and 38 seconds. This match was
Awesome.
sloppy.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
I thought it was sloppy. So many almost like boops. I was like, oh my God, Io Sky's gonna decapitate herself flipping out of the ring like that. When she like landed weird, I was like, this is it for her.
That insane elbow to the floor was awesome. That was really cool. Kyrie is so underutilized. It's sickening.
I mean, four of these girls are like elite level wrestlers, not just female wrestlers. Like in general, like in the world.
Yeah,
They all work well together. I like Rhea and Io as a tag team. I think
I
they
do
got
too.
good chemistry. So yeah,
Yeah. Then we had a singles match. All Ego Ethan Page is with Raw now, picking up the win against Javon Evans in 9 minutes and 45 seconds. Javon Evans is like the Energizer Bunny. Like he does not stop.
literally.
And yeah, literally. In that ladder match, he didn't stop going. I mean, in this match with Ethan Page, he didn't stop going. But anybody have any thoughts about this quick singles match?
Ethan Page is awesome. Glad he's on the main roster. I was hoping we were going to get more with him and Chelsea Green, maybe down the road, but he's perfect for WWE. He's great on the mic. I could see him and LA Knight having a great feud on the mic and in the ring. He's super talented.
Yeah, I'm glad to see like I said, Ethan up on the main roster. He was in NXT way way too long. So both of these guys are going to be doing hopefully some big things going into the summer. So hopefully we see them on TV regularly with some important things going forward.
Yeah. Then we had a non-title match. Liv Morgan with Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez pick up the win against Sol Ruca in 11 minutes and 57 seconds. I think I really like Sol Ruca. I love her gear. I love how athletic she is. Like, she's just a lovable character. And I think she's like, I mean, aside from some of the regular women that we talk about, like Blake Monroe, and, I think she's one of the ones that I'm more excited about. I just think she's awesome. And her finisher, the Soul Snatcher, Snow Destroyer, Soul Snatcher, is incredible. And I don't know. I enjoyed this match.
Yeah, this match was awesome. And, Sol Ruca almost died on Tuesday. I don't know if you guys got to see that nasty bump on NXT, but man,
Yeah, through the table.
yeah,
That was crazy.
she landed through one table and the back of her head smashed on the edge of the other table. She got a bunch of stitches, she said. But this match here was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Soul's going to be a big star. She's going to be perfect. And she's someone who I could see dethroning Becky for the Intercontinental title.
I would have actually had her beat Liv tonight because it's a non-title match. You can set up then you got an automatic program then for Liv. You don't have to put her over Liv in that title match, but she kind of I know she's been on the main roster a few times, but this is her I guess official debut. That's how you make stars. That's what you need to do. They missed an opportunity here for sure. But like Steve said, the match was good. So, but I would have definitely put Soul over here.
Yeah, it could have been Paige and AJ all over again.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly.
Then we had a singles match. Finn Balor defeats JD McDonough in 6 minutes and 15 seconds, or Finn Balor versus poor man's Finn Balor. It was a very
They needed
short
more.
match.
They needed more time. I mean, they've been building this. I mean, they've been together in that faction forever, and then this is how you kind of have their first match. And Finn trained him, so it's like it's kind of a letdown. I mean, both guys are great, but it was just they didn't have enough time to get much going.
And then lastly, we had a Jacob and Roman promo to end the show. Jacob is basically like, I wanna put my kids through good schools. I want the money. I want the Jordan deal. Like, I want what you have. I don't wanna be you, but I want what you have. Yeah. I mean, Roman makes his faces. I didn't hear Roman speak, but did he speak or was it just Jacob?
No, they spoke, and he said he'll have his answer next week, and he wants Jacob to really think about if this is what he wants. I was hoping Jacob was gonna join them and be the fourth member in like the new bloodline. Maybe we get Tamatonga in there. Maybe they finally pull the trigger on someone like Zilla, but we'll see. But it looks like we're going to get Jacob and Roman at Backlash, which will be an awesome match. I'm a huge Jacob fan, as I mentioned earlier, and he goes all out. And when Roman does wrestle, he puts on a show. So it'll be entertaining to say the least because of the family ties, and at least they'll trust each other. And Roman will do everything to get him over, even if it doesn't mean Jacob winning the world title.
Yeah, I
Roman said
mean,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, no,
Oh,
you're good there. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say Roman in the after show for WrestleMania with Corey Graves and them said that he was gonna be wrestling, like defending his title, so like not like he was when he had it before, basically. So maybe he's gonna be wrestling more.
Yeah,
I mean, I could, yeah, I could see them doing like a match with those two, and then Roman ekes it out, but then maybe they build them back up to SummerSlam possibly, and that's where Jacob gets it. I mean, they got some options here. If they really want to push Jacob, they got to get the belt on him.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Closing thoughts, concerns, gripes, groans, moans about WrestleMania 42?
Yeah, I mean, it was WrestleMania. I mean, it's the Disney of pro wrestling. You're gonna get, the commercials, the advertisements. They promoted the heck out of that Hulk Hogan documentary, and we can talk about that next week. I've made it through almost half of it. It's very entertaining, nothing surprising. It's very the first 2 parts are very Linda heavy, so, there's no filter on that lady, so you hear all the wild stories and, it's definitely not, something you want your kids to watch.
I told Rocco not to watch it without us.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
was like,
no.
"Ooh, mom, look." I was like, "Don't watch it."
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause they talk about the drug use and how they were partying and Linda's looking through old pictures and she goes, there's Terry naked. And it's like, oh my God. And he's like, yeah, right. Our first night together, Hulk just got naked. And it's just like, what are we talking about here?
That's weird. He's old.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not here anymore, but
Yeah, I mean it was WrestleMania. I mean, it's what you expect. It's super corporate. It's a company that it's an entertainment company that pretends to be a wrestling company.
yeah.
They're not a wrestling company anymore. They're an entertainment company. They're more about moments and trending as opposed to like an AEW or New Japan that's all about the wrestling. And it's a shame, but if you go to WWE, you should know that. And if you watch a WWE show, you should be fully prepared that you're not gonna get 30-minute matches each and every time. You're gonna get a 4-hour show, but 2 hours of it's gonna be ads and nonsense. I thought night 2 was a lot better paced, a lot better, mapped out. I really loved the Danhausen, Cena, and Miz interaction. They should have done more stuff like that throughout, the 2 days with John Cena, because it just felt like John Cena was just an afterthought when he should have been played up a little bit more. He could have gotten people over. It would have been fun to have seen a Gunther interaction, Gunther walking past him in the back saying, huh, you tapped like a bitch, and then just kept moving. It would have been interesting. And then, you could have had a R Truth and Cena, interaction, something like that.
Reunion.
Yeah, something like that to fill the commercial times. Overall, a lot of missed opportunities, but that's WWE.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that when Steve and I were kids, that the WWF was still a wrestling company, because it's kind of sad that there's all this wrestling out there to watch, and there's people that either have no idea about it, or they just don't think it compares to WWE because that's all they've ever known. So, I feel like Steve hit it on the head. I mean, it's like they're an entertainment company. Their goal is to make money. They produce these shows. I feel bad sometimes for the workers because they're just the pawns on the chessboard. You know, they don't have a whole lot of creative freedom. Unless you're at the tippy top of the card. That's why when you watch an AEW or a New Japan or an independent show, it's more authentic, it's more real. I shouldn't say it's more real, it feels more real because it's the performers are actually, you know, usually putting all their input in and it's their ideas as opposed to this huge, production team, writing committee, whatever you want to call it. So, was it entertaining? Yeah. Night 2 was definitely better than night 1. Hopefully they can get some of these younger people moving because they're to wrap it up here, I mean, the top of their card is old. Their top of their card is very old. So they got to get some of these younger guys and girls, moving here with some creative and getting them to the top of the card going forward. So that's kind of
Yeah.
where I'll leave it. Yeah.
Right, that's gonna do it for part 2, and honestly, for one of the wildest wrestling weeks we've had in a long time.
WrestleMania 42 gave us everything: huge moments, head scratchers, title changes, emotional exits, and yeah, a few things we're probably still going to be arguing about next week.
But that's what makes it fun.
If you rock with us through both parts, Spring Break Chaos, AEW Dynamite, all the way through the bright lights in Vegas, we appreciate you.
Make sure you're following us everywhere at Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and at our email. And then on X, we're at MWrestlePod. Shout out to Sativa Shower for always liking all our stuff.
Download, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend, tell a wrestling fan, tell someone who has no idea what's going on but likes a little chaos in their life.
We'll be back next week breaking it all down like only we can. Until then, keep the takes hot and the arguments hotter. We'll catch you next time.
Hold up, hold up. Before we start the show, we gotta address something.
Yeah, the fact that you still don't own our merch.
Disrespectful, honestly. You listen every week. You yell at your phone when I'm right.
You mean when you think you're right?
Either way, you're not repping the brand. That's a problem.
Big problem, because the Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling podcast shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees, main event material.
Soft, comfortable, championship level drip.
Perfect for Raw, perfect for Dynamite, perfect for sitting on the couch judging creative decisions like you book the territory.
And let's be honest, when you walk into a show wearing our logo,
You're basically saying I've got elite taste.
who's your favorite wrestling podcast?
Who runs the hot takes?
Who brings the chaos every week?
Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling. So stop playing.
Search Mr. and Mrs. Wrestling on Pro Wrestling Tees.
Grab the shirt
Join the movement.
and look better than Mr. Wrestling while you're at it.
Okay, wow. We're ending strong.
We are ending strong in our merch.